Before we get to the main story of this arc, we have a flashback which not only shows how Luffy got his devil fruit powers, but also where he adopted a lot of his personality traits and ideals, as many of them come from his mentor figure, Red Hair Shanks, a very casual laid-back pirate captain who doesn't really take much of the threats against him seriously, which I'm just going to put my money on it now is a sign that he is going to be this series' ultimate big bad, because his casual attitude is somewhat off-putting in my opinion. It very much feels like someone who has the confidence of knowing that they're going to get their brutal revenge one day, so has no need to get angry now. Admittedly, he does break this very cool personality when it seems like Luffy is in danger, but that just shows that he does care for Luffy, and it's going to make their ultimate battle together all the more heartbreaking. In contrast, I wouldn't be surprised if Buggy the Clown, the main antagonist of this storyline, goes through a bit of a redemption arc, because while he does decimate this town and is ultimately quite unpleasant in this storyline, I do think there is a degree of tragedy to his character, a pathetic tragedy, but one that I can see them potentially re-evaluating. It's kind of funny seeing him refuse to give information about Shanks to Luffy as an intimidation tactic, only for Luffy to just assume that he forgot the information, and it really throws Buggy off. And then we ultimately do get this supposed flashback where Shanks really screwed Buggy over. It turns out that everything that happened to Buggy was entirely his fault. So yeah, I would be curious to see where this character goes, because he is a very interesting villain. He's that right balance of funny and intimidating. It's no wonder he's become the most iconic. Now I'll grant I'm probably reaching here, but to be fair, a main theme of this storyline is looking beyond the surface of people, as we have the official introduction of Nami, and looking back on where she is as a character compared to how she started here, it's amazing how much I took for granted the clues that there is more to her than meets the eye. I initially assumed her dislike of pirates and her need to rob them didn't have as much meaning behind it as it ultimately did. So it's important to keep an eye on these things, because she is somewhat manipulative and it's difficult to see whose side she's truly on in some instances, which makes her arguably the most complex character. When I initially just assumed she'd be the boring voice of reason, she is definitely not a boring character at all. And it's interesting to see how much she judges Luffy and assumes he's just an idiot obsessed with gold and treasure, when realistically, as we see, there is a lot more to Luffy than meets the eye. As it turns out, he doesn't really view like that sort of thing as treasure. His treasure is his iconic straw hat, which was given to him by Shanks, and seeing the emotional weight that object has for him really has her second guess her own prejudices, and it just gives us an opportunity to see that Luffy isn't just this idiot who doesn't take things seriously, because when that hat is damaged by Buggy, you can see the anger within him, and we get to see a lot more of his moral compass, and that he's not just going to laugh everything off. I think the heart of this theme, and just storyline in general, is when Luffy ends up empathizing with a local dog who sees the pet store of his late owner as his treasure and feels a need to protect it despite the fact his owner is long gone. And when it's ultimately destroyed, seeing Luffy try to salvage what remains of it for the dog is incredibly touching. I think something that I find quite interesting is Luffy incriminating himself once Buggy is defeated to the townsfolk. Now on the surface, this can be just another instance of Luffy being an idiot, not thinking before speaking, but as I've gone through this story, I wonder if there is more to it, like reinforcing their feelings toward pirates gives them a greater drive to fight back if something like this was to happen again.